Hello, my name's Ed Poole, and today I'm talking to Carla Gregory, who's standing to be the MP for Chesham and Amersham for the Breakthrough Party. Just a bit of a disclaimer is I'm a member of the Breakthrough Party. I joined the Breakthrough Party a couple of weeks ago, so just so you're aware of that. These are roughly the questions asked. Everybody obviously a little bit tailored, but just bear that in mind. I'm not an objective independent outsider. I do have a horse in the race, but anyway, Breakthrough Party is a young, new organisation, so I think there's still a lot of things to be ironed out, and all of us as members have quite a lot to find out about each other's views. So hopefully it'll be interesting. Hi, Carla. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, thanks for having me, Ed.
Okay, so can you tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, and why you're standing to be the MP for Chesham and Amersham?
I am a local mum. I've lived here my whole life. I don't feel like anyone represents me or anyone else like me in politics. So I've decided to run with the Breakthrough Party, who I feel represent me and others like me.
Okay, why did you get involved in Breakthrough, and what do you think its role is in politics?
I actually got involved. I've known Alex, the founder, since we were teenagers. Haven't seen him since then. We've always had each other on Facebook, and he's heard read my political rants over the years. And as soon as he started this up, he got in touch and said it might be up my street and would I like to get involved. And the more I read and the more I spoke to everyone that was involved, the more I got involved myself. And now 6 months down the line, here I am standing for MP of my hometown, which is just amazing.
Yeah, brilliant. What do you think the issues are locally that are important in this by-election?
The two big issues, I mean, there are lots of issues here, but the two big ones that none of the other parties are talking about are the housing crisis and the gap between the rich and the poor. And they kind of link together very, very well. The housing crisis around here, there is a 4-year wait for a 3-bedroom house from being eligible for a 3-bedroom house. So there are people now just being housed who should have been housed in 2017. And that is far too long. There are children in overcrowded houses, and you know, not just children, there are people in overcrowded houses. There is a lot of issues with high rents around here. To rent a 3-bedroom house around here in my hometown of Amersham, you're looking at £1,900 a month, which if you're working minimum wage, you have no way you're going to be able to afford that. The local housing allowance is under £1,300, so you have to make that whole huge gap up, which is just not doable if you're earning minimum wage. Another reason we advocate for a £15 an hour working wage for everyone and living wage, because it's just not doable on minimum wage as it is. The other big thing, personally for me, I feel like this isn't talked about by anyone, it's sort of like an elephant in the room, is we have a lot of wealth here, and there's a lot of people with money, but there are also people that are really, really, they're in poverty, and the more the rich get richer, the gap is becoming bigger and the poor are becoming poorer, and it's harder to survive here. You shouldn't have to just survive, you should be able to live wherever you live, and I'm a big believer in that, and that's not what's happening here. If you earn under, say, 40 grand a year, you're going to struggle around here, and that's a good amount of money. You shouldn't struggle on that. So if you're on minimum wage, you have sort of no hope of being able to comfortably live, or even just live a decent life. There's no need to sort of have all these extra things, but people should be able to live a decent life.
Yeah, agreed. Obviously, for people who know a little bit about my background, I've been involved in parliamentary selection processes in the Labour Party, which have been more interesting perhaps than they should have been. Can you tell us a bit about Breakthrough's parliamentary candidate selection? Obviously, it's a new party and things are still being set up, but how did that work?
We actually had no intentions of standing in Chesham and Amersham. It's sort of a typical safe Tory seat. But when I went to the committee and said to them, we have a by-election coming up in my hometown, are we going to do anything? I'd be quite happy to run. The committee fully backed me. We put it to our members, and all of our members voted unanimously for me to run. So we made sure that the democratic process was followed, and that's sort of how we got to here and now.
Okay. It's seen sort of time and time again when marginalised communities have raised concerns about discrimination on the left. Obviously, there's discrimination everywhere, but being a party on the left, it's something in terms of getting our own house in order. They get treated as if they're saboteurs or traitors or spies or all sorts of allegations. And people act as if, almost like on the left, we're without fault. And anyone critical must be some sort of enemy. How do we make the left a place where marginalised communities have space to voice their experiences and their issues, even within the left itself?
I think here we all need to be self-critical a lot more. We need to look. We don't need to take it as a personal attack on us. We have been brought up in a society that is systemically racist and discriminates against people, and that is built so deeply into our society that sometimes we're going to get it wrong. We're going to make mistakes, and we need to listen to people who are in these marginalized groups, understand actually, even if we think we've got it right, we might not have done, and we need to then learn from that. And I think unless you're taking on board what these people are saying, then you're never ever going to learn, and it's never going to stop any discrimination. I mean, just even with racism, there's the racism that is in our society. It's in our criminal justice system. It's in the inequality and in the policies that are put in place are rooted in systemic racism and, you know, being discriminating against other marginalized groups. And it's about being able to let people call us out. We should be called out. If we've got it wrong, we should be called out. And it's about then looking at ourselves and saying, okay, I've done this wrong. How can I do it better? And learning from it. And I think if you're just sort of going, I'm not racist, I'm not ableist, that's not going to help anyone. That's not going to make life better for anyone. And it's not the way to learn and move forward. And society won't change unless people are learning.
Okay, just to follow up on that. Obviously, we've seen on the left, a lot of people have raised concerns about racism and discrimination, who don't always seem as if that's their real concern. It's more that they're using that as a kind of a political tool for factional reasons. If people are kind of always taking that on board, how do you kind of separate bad faith accusations, I guess, from listening to genuine concerns from marginalised people?
I guess we can't really. We have to take everyone at face value. I mean, you know, when things are looked into, we might see that things aren't quite as they seem. But to tell someone that feels like you're being racist to them or discriminating against them, that, oh, I'm not, it's just not the right attitude to have at all. And it's just causing further divide, and we need to be united as the left. I know that there are sort of splits between the left, but we all stand for the same thing. We should all be actually standing for the same thing and not just talking about it. We should be doing it.
Okay. Just gauge your personal views on some of the kind of issues on the left that obviously were everyone's in going in different directions. The left's quite fragmented. People are staying in the Labour Party. People are forming new parties like Breakthrough. People are wandering the streets in despair, wondering what to do next. But there's still a lot of issues that people kind of over the last few years have been quite divisive on the left. So I just want to ask you what kind of your take is on a few of those. So we were out leafleting today in Chesham, and we saw Rejoin the EU party, whatever they're called, campaigning. What's your position on the EU?
Whilst I feel like the best place for us would be within the EU, right now we're not in the EU, and we need to make the best of the situation how it is. We need to deal with how life is now and how it is, and we need to move forward. We've got a lot of other issues that we need to be dealing with it here, and I feel like some of them definitely take priority over sort of Brexit as such, because it's sort of finished now. You know, we have democratically voted on it. The process has gone through. Okay, it might not be what we want, but we've got to work with what we've got, I think, and to move forward. Moving forward is what's important here, and making sort of the relationship that we have with the EU countries as good as we can is sort of the priority that the government should be looking at. And, you know, I mean, if there was another referendum, a call for a referendum, I would support that, and whatever the democratic decision was on that. But I just don't see that happening anytime soon.
Okay. What's your position on trans rights?
I don't think you can really have a position on it, because trans rights are human rights, and they deserve to have the exact same respect as anyone else. They should be treated the same. You know, 30, 40 years ago, gay people were told, you know, they were marginalized from society, whereas now it's not perfect, but it's better. And it should be that way for trans people. Trans people should be able to live however they like. My 12-year-old daughter gets it, so I don't understand why other people don't.
Yeah. Black Lives Matter. I mean, there's kind of two aspects to that. There's the kind of general kind of anti-racist people taking the knee at football matches, and there's the specific organisations. I don't know how you want to, but the whole movement. What's your take?
Fully support the whole movement, and I can completely understand why it's happened. And I don't know whether I've told you, I studied psychology and criminology, and I've just finished it. And I spent a lot of that time looking at systemic racism in the criminal justice system. And it's bigger in America, it's louder, and it's more obvious, but it's still here in the UK as well. You know, we have people of people that are dying in custody, and no one's being held accountable for that. We have people that are being stopped and searched because of the colour of their skin, and that is just abhorrent. It's awful. It shouldn't be happening in 2021. And so I fully support the whole movement, and I know the party do too, absolutely.
Great. So you might have seen just on Twitter, I was having this exact conversation, but one of the things that people say about new parties is you're splitting the vote, you're letting the Tories in, you're only going to take votes off Labour, you're just helping the Tories. What's your response to that?
When I look at my constituency, there is no other political party talking about the issues I'm talking about. So I don't feel I'm splitting the vote. I feel like I could even be bringing people that wouldn't. I know personally that there have been people that have registered to vote specifically so they can vote for my policies, because they've never registered before, because they've never had anyone that they've wanted to vote for. So I think that's we're not so much splitting the left vote. We're making the left vote louder and stronger and more left and less centrist.
Okay. So obviously we've had decades now of kind of a kind of neoliberal consensus of privatization, outsourcing, public funding cuts, and all the rest of it. How do we reverse 40 years of the kind of worsening living conditions for ordinary people that's led to?
I think with that, what we need to, I think what the government need to know is that these policies, we could fix a lot of these issues with policies, but they don't. They sort of leave it to the open market, and that's where money comes in. And if you've got money, you're all good. If you haven't got money, you're never going to get anywhere. And I think policies that we would like to bring in, like the £15 an hour living wage, universal basic income, these things would prop people to a place where they could manage to survive and then go out and work to earn sort of extra money to make their lives a bit better and things like that. I think it's just making it an even playing field for people. It's some people have no start off in life, and some people have huge trust funds, and I don't want to make the rich poor. I just want to make it more fair and more even for people, just so that people have the basic things in life, like a decent home, food on the table, without worrying about how much you're spending as you go around Tesco's. I mean, I know that I personally have, done that sort of calculator in my head as I've gone round, and it shouldn't be like that to buy food. It really drives me insane.
Okay. So what can we do to start fighting back against the current Conservative government?
Just getting behind political organisations that are challenging them, and not just parties like the Breakthrough Party, but there are organisations out there like Sisters Uncut, Black Lives Matter, the renters union groups that are out there, the people that are out there fighting for the issue that means the most to them. We need to back all these individual groups, and we need to get behind them, show solidarity, show support, and make their voices heard as much as we can.
Okay, so like I say, we were out campaigning today. Do you think you can win?
I think the last few years have shown that anything is possible in politics. So I think, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next week. I'm really excited about it. And I think there's definitely a bigger call for policies like what Breakthrough is offering than I realised even 2 months ago. So I'm feeling very encouraged.
Brilliant. So if people wanted to get involved in your campaign, we've only got just under a week left now, but if people wanted to get involved, how can they do that?
Get hold of us on Twitter, Facebook. I also have a sort of open Facebook profile, so if anyone wants to message me directly, that's absolutely fine. You can get in contact via our website as well. So there are lots of ways to get in touch, and there's lots of different ways to get involved. It's fantastic having people come down and help campaign with me, but our social media teams are fantastic. People do things behind the scenes with filming videos and all these sort of little things. Their connections that they have, they might know a printer, they might know someone that does something that they can help in sort of ways that they didn't even realize. So even just getting involved and being supportive and encouraging is fantastic. So yeah, anyone that wants to get involved, do get in touch.
Brilliant. And what would your message be to voters, as we've got, I think, 5 days until voting day? What would you like to say to voters in Amersham and Chesham? That
things can change, and they will change. There's enough people like me that have had enough of how things are being done, and we're all starting to stand up for equality everywhere, and for making sure that people have decent standards of living. And yeah, no other party's talking about these issues. So if these issues affect you, such as housing, poor jobs, or issues with getting wages from employers, or even if you just want to see a 15% pay rise for the NHS staff, which I think most of the people in this country do, vote for Carla.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks for your time, Carla.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for having me, Ed.
No problem. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.